Hi everyone, welcome to Hello Messenger webinar series, Client Diaries, and for this edition I've got our beloved client from South Africa, Carget. We've got Grant being COO of Carget in this. But before we get on to it, a quick introduction about myself. I'm Murli, I take care of customer success here at Hello Messenger. Been here for about 11 months and seen us really grow from about 100 customers to about 400 odd customers. And then very excited to work with customers across the front, starting from the large enterprises, the mid-market, and the startups and the disruptors. So welcome, Grant, and it will be great to get a quick introduction and a bit to know about yourself to the audience so that we all have the context.
Hi, Murali. Yeah, thanks for the intro. So yes, I'm heading up the operations of, you mentioned Carget, it's actually Planet42 now. The reason for the rebrand is because we felt that Carget was too restrictive for our business or our potential business growth trajectory. It was a very good name in the early stages in that it served a purpose, i.e. go and get your car, but as the business potentially expands into other avenues, so too the name needs to follow track. So Planet42, which we recently rebranded to about 2 months ago, allows us more scope for furthering our business development. So the reason for the name change. As mentioned, we're headquartered out of Johannesburg, but we service the entire country. And very shortly, we'll be going on some scouting missions to see if we can expand the business model to other countries. And that's purely based on the great success that we've had so far with our business model, even through Corona, I must add.
And yourself in your role, Grant, so what do you take care of? You said you are CEO, so what does a CEO take care in a startup like?
All of the problems that come up, basically. With the rapid scaling business in financial services, we need to approach things quite measured, because an improper process could have multiple knock-on effects that could affect multiple clients. So I look at designing new processes and new procedures to streamline the general operations of the company. And then, on top of that, our sales and operation staff are key to achieving that objective. So we've expanded our sales team like fourfold in the past 2 months. I say fourfold because it went from 1 to 4, so it may sound impressive, but it's actually not as impressive as it sounds. But getting those guys to integrate into the existing environment and then try and see what works with them presents its own unique challenges, but in a good way. And then also scaling up the support side of the business to make sure that we can service all of our customers effectively and deliver that good customer experience, which is one of the reasons that we can also thrive. So we basically, what sets us apart is how fast we can execute. And that's a function of procedures as well as having the right staff and the right technology at your disposal.
So I was looking at your company and quite an interesting profile of what you guys do, right? You guys seems to be at the intersection of fintech and transportation industry. You're quite disrupting the way in which people think about transport, about owning about transport, and how they finance about it. So what's the logic and idea behind this unique idea?
Well, the simplest explanation is the business model works in developed first world countries like Europe and the Americas, where renting is often preferable to buying. The reason it works is because in first world countries, the banks have a more developed risk scoring methodology for their customers, which basically means they've got a higher risk tolerance towards customers. So the customers that the banks in South Africa turn away would have qualified for finance in first world countries because of their more progressive risk scoring methodologies. So where a bank does not wish to finance a car, we take on that gap inside the market And I mean, based on the economic circumstances of the country, there are a lot of those customers who are unfairly prejudiced, and we can say that it's definitely down to the system that's broken, not necessarily the customer. And we've got some great customers on our book that, I mean, we look at their credit scoring and we wonder, like, why would the bank actually have turned them down? And that's because it is the system that's broken. The banks are scoring clients incorrectly. So off the back of that, we've developed a proprietary scoring algorithm, and we look to do business where the banks are often too scared to tread. But more than that, I mean, we're solving a critical mobility problem. I mean, in South Africa, there is no reliable public transport other than the Gautrain, which is very expensive and quite restrictive in terms of its network and rail infrastructure. So in South Africa, the preference is to have your own private means of transport. Yes, there's Uber, but Ubering everywhere will also be very cost intensive. So we are giving South Africans the opportunity to get into their own cars and become mobile and independent. And that is the first gateway to being able to hold down a job. I mean, most jobs require you, well, I actually haven't come across a job profile that doesn't require you to have your own transport that's not public. So we are giving these customers an opportunity to basically take back their lives, which the banks have said no to.
That's quite radical. And I'm sure it is, if you think about this whole thing in a linear way and go about to the traditional credit rating and then try to hash out, you may not be able to get the kind of profile and target audience that you would want to reach out. So I'm sure you are doing something innovative way to source your audience or source your target group as well. So can you talk a little bit about who are your target audience? You did give a flavor about it, but a bit more detail. And then say, like, how are you targeting them? How are you attracting those audience to engage? Because they are going to be quite unique, and those guys may be thinking that I can never own a car. So you're kind of making that affordable for them.
Sure. Just to distinguish or emphasize or unpack the word credit, should we say. So credit implies that you're a financial service provider. We are not financial service. We are a rent to buy company. So we don't provide credit. We provide an alternative means of car ownership through the rent to buy scheme. I mean, you asked, just repeat your question again, sorry.
Yeah, two parts to it, because you are actually evaluating a risk in a very different manner, not the traditional manners that credit people do. So how do you go about acquiring the data to do it? Second part is you are targeting the folks who traditionally think that they don't have access to these credits or they don't have access to these loans, right? So how do you go and put your word out that Planet42 is there and you can reach out to us to get them?
Sure. Okay, so if we talk about acquiring data, the simplest way is by making a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But to elaborate more on that, so we'll have a rough assessment of the client's risk profile, and then we will decide to take on that customer. And then if that customer early defaults on his payments, we collect data about the situations at the onset of the event that led to the early default. And through that iterative process, we keep training our scoring algorithm to become smarter and smarter to make better decisions. So we've had literally like hundreds of defaults on our book, but that's good because it provided us a learning experience to refine our artificial intelligence algorithm in order to make better scoring decisions for the next batch of customers. And through that, we're able to reduce our price as we have in the past. I mean, we know our service is expensive, but we're constantly looking to reduce our price through smarter scoring algorithms. I mean, our scoring algorithm has been changed at least 5 to 6 times already in the past year and a half. So I mean, to summarize, we don't take failure as the end. We take failure as an opportunity to learn, and it's through those constant learning, it's how we gather the best quality information on our customers. Now, the second point to your question was on customer acquisition. The rent to buy model in South Africa is It's not unique at all, but just the way that we approach it is different. Most vendors will have a single point where they say to the customer, this is our showroom and you're only allowed certain of these cars. So there's two restrictions there. There's a geographical restriction and then there's a choice restriction. But what we do is we want to sign up every dealership in South Africa. So that removes the geographical restriction. And also by allowing the customer free choice of their car, the potential for conversion is increased exponentially. So if there's 1,500 dealerships in South Africa and we sign them all up, and what I mean sign them all up, we tell them to use our service, or we allow them to use our service instead of a traditional bank. The number of selling points is now exponential compared to one traditional branch. So that's why the business model can go exponential very quickly. And it has, if you look at our growth trajectory, where we started in 2018 with 0, and now we've got close on 2,000 cars. And Corona did slow us down, but we are seeing that business come back. So the resilience of the business model and the fundamental need that it fulfills has still remained very much intact.
Amazing. I think if I can summarize as two parts, you are saying that the cost of learning or the cost of data acquisition is by giving loans, and then you're getting the data, and then you're seeing profiling the people for first time. So you're running a new AI model and you're revising it constantly. Second, you are saying that customer acquisition, there's similar business exists in the market, but you're doing very differently and approaching it by going 1 to many or 1 to 1,500 at one shot and achieving that scale. That's quite amazing. So in this context, Grant, how did you discover Hello Messenger? Was it like someone reached out, or how did you find Hello Messenger? What was your first reaction when you saw Hello Messenger as a platform?
Well, first of all, there was a burning need to contact customers on WhatsApp. So we've got the traditional SMS, email communication, but we found the levels of engagement through WhatsApp to be far higher. So we knew that WhatsApp was the de facto tool of communication choice in South Africa.
Yeah.
Other developed countries, that may not be the case, but we knew that WhatsApp was the preferred communication tool, and how we judged that was through response rate. Customers would get the email, i.e. there wouldn't be a delivery failure notification, but they just wouldn't respond to us. And it's through engagement that we can deliver a better service to our customers. So the coronavirus, call it fiasco, was quite a good learning experience for us, because we went into a state of hard lockdown where total movement was restricted. So that curtailed a lot of our core operational business operations. So what we did is we needed to actively engage our customers on WhatsApp to try and arrange new payment plans, or try and understand where they are and how Corona has specifically affected them. So what we had was one person on a single WhatsApp line logged into WhatsApp web, communicating with hundreds of customers at a time. And then we had to stagger our shifts and make that log in early in the morning and log off late at night, but two people manning the shift. So we basically operated multiple hours a day, far longer than we should. And then that was burning our staff somewhat because of the long hours. But it was a case of burning the staff and then making the business survive. But the staff were well cognizant of the effect that they were having on business profitability. So often guys would volunteer to work late because they saw the impact that it had on the business. After we got through the coronavirus and with our revenues fairly largely intact and with still a growing customer base, we said there must be a better way than one person interacting with one customer at a time. And that's what led us on the search to have a multi-agent environment where more customers could engage with multiple service agents simultaneously. And then that talks to service delivery. I mean, with multiple agents, service delivery is just exponentially increased because now there's no limit to the amount of staff that we can have dedicated to the platform. So we were delivering a better service to our customers. Now your question about as to how we found it was actually a recommendation from a friend. So that particular person that also, out of Estonia, did some quite extensive investigations about the ideal messaging platform. So we did consult another platform provider, but they were for larger, well-established businesses. And we felt that they wouldn't be a good fit for us because we are a high growth company, which means that our procedures could change from a weekly to a monthly basis. So we needed a business partner that could have the same flexibility in building for our requirements as our business scaled. And the joys of being in a high growth phase, you never know what you need until you need it. And then it's up to the business partner to say if they can do it or not. And based on the experience we've had so far with Yellow Messenger, meeting the business challenge has been very good so far.
It's absolute delight to hear that, Grant. And tell me, so what are the current applications of Yellow Messenger in your company? Or what are the key use cases that you try using Yellow Messenger?
So it's been for reaching out to customers to understand what their financial state is so that we can try and engage them so that they can keep their car and avoid a repossession. Okay. So it's been to extend the life of contracts, which is good for us and good for the customer. Because, if the customer can remain in his car for longer, he has an opportunity to get back on his feet and find a job if he was retrenched. But similarly for us, a longer contract is a more profitable contract. So it's a win-win situation. The second use case was reaching out to potential customers through campaigns, because we've recently gone live with the new web application where clients can apply directly on our website for rent to buy. And then we will reach out to the customers proactively on WhatsApp if we see that the application hasn't gone further. So it talks to converting potential customers into customers. Yep. So those have been the two main use cases so far for Yellow Messenger. There will be more in the future.
Absolutely. I think it makes great sense. In fact, we see a lot of our customers, like a lot of our portfolio customers that we engage with are pretty much using in like two larger buckets, right? Everything to do with the customers, which is one side of the story is essentially focusing on how do you market your product, how do you make sure you're like reaching to the target audience, then you bring them on, then you engage with them and then serve them. So that's one big side of the portfolio offerings that we bring to table, right, as we speak. In that context, you talked about campaign, Grant. So it's quite interesting. So how do you run about campaign? How do you think about campaign? And when you ran your campaign, what's been your experience with Yellow Messenger as a platform?
Well, because campaigns can go out to like potentially hundreds of clients at a time, the prerequisite is that you have an established procedure for dealing with the campaign, because if you send 100 or hundreds of messages of the same messages to clients, then the support staff will come to you and say, okay, like what now? And then as a manager, you can easily be overwhelmed with dozens of guys throwing requests at you. So the prerequisite is having an established procedure to deal with the campaign. And once those procedures are in place, then it talks to what is the goal of the campaign, whether it's debt reduction or customer acquisition, and then having metrics to track the success of those. So when we send out a campaign, we will check firstly on Yellow Messenger how many people actually got it, how many people read it, and then when customers respond, we'll check and track and monitor the response rate. And we'll monitor both positive responses and negative responses. And then that talks to campaign efficiency. And then we will alter campaigns and wording by throwing various incentives in, for example, to increase campaign effectiveness. Through a bit of a tweak in wording, to give you an example, we've been running one campaign for about 3 months, and we had maybe about a 50% engagement rate. By altering the wording somewhat, we increased the engagement rate from 50 to 75%. So you can say like that was pretty good. But I mean, the point is we had tools for measuring the engagement rate and tracking campaign effectiveness. So through that iterative approach, we can constantly determine if our campaigns need adjustment or not. Well, the simple answer is our campaigns always need adjustment because we always want to improve, but we've got metrics for determining by how much we improve or if it went the other way. And it could easily also go that we develop a new campaign and it's actually much worse than the previous one, but that's okay. It's a learning experience.
Absolutely. As you said, you are a startup and things change very fast there, perhaps in days or weeks, right? If not in months and years. So I think keep pace with that kind of change and also kind of bring you that nimbleness and agility. I think probably that's what makes sense for you to work with. Absolutely great. And what's your plan, Brian, from whatever you've been using? You did touch upon that. You also have some sort of lead gen or application form, which you launched a website and portal for people to fill in. Have you thought about having bot or chatbot which can actually help completely go and issue a loan? Have you thought about such solution and what's your idea on those?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we at the very start of the Yellow Messenger deployment process, we got our support guys thinking about what are the most commonly asked questions and how those questions are dealt with, i.e. it talks to building procedures again. So we are mapping out procedures as to what the support staff would have said and then looking at how the machine would respond to those queries. But I mean, the main point again was like having all those procedures set out so that the bot could effectively answer to the question and not give a bit of a weird answer and then the customer is like equally confused and then they get auto notification that the ticket has been closed. So that would it could cause a bit of frustration to the customers. So we definitely want to go down the automation route because that could probably save maybe 20% of man hours because there are a high volume of standard questions that our customers do ask. So that is for automation. And then the second part would definitely be to link Yellow Messenger with our core debt management system so that certain reminders or events by the debt management system could be pushed through into Yellow Messenger and sent to customers automatically. Currently, that's done via SMS and email, but as mentioned earlier, WhatsApp is the highest engagement platform. So the automated reminders already exist, but just not in WhatsApp. So linking Yellow Messenger to the core loan management platform would definitely be next on the agenda. Won't be a small piece of work, but we'll get a lot of benefit from that.
Absolutely. I think I can recount a couple of my customers where you're doing both, right? When on the FAQ side, we work with one of the gaming companies here in India, and approximately they get about 13,000 queries, which hits every day, out of which this bot resolves about 3,000, 4,000 queries, essentially targeting about 30-35% of deflection in a month's time. And what has literally it has helped to clean out all the low-end FAQ questions and free up the humans who are there. It answer more complex things like payment reconciliations or let's say certain things around change of the profiles and all the confidential stuff. So more complex stuff, and we are trying to move this 35% auto resolution to slowly 50%, but absolutely keeping track of the feedback. So feedback is what we don't want to miss because what we are seeing is a feedback they give when they go to humans are at 4 out of 5, right? So there's fairly good in terms of 80% feedback you want. But when you go to the bot, you probably don't want to start low because you're never going to catch up. So just wanting to stay at 4 and slowly adding use cases after use cases so that you are able to serve the entire audience, self-serve basis. So that's something that we're quite excited to do. Other thing, a lot of financial services provider, especially the insurance folks that you work, build bots which can do end-to-end, let's say, deal origination and then policy issuance itself, right? And even after that, the regulation things in India is that you need to call the person and confirm as per regulatory requirement to say that, have you understood the policy? This is a premium. Are you okay? And that needs to be documented by an insurer. That's something that you're working on. I think and also what we're trying to do is, because as you told, WhatsApp is a very unique phenomenon, and it's a phenomenon where almost everybody has, right? 2 billion people in the world have WhatsApp kind of thing. So Facebook, a lot of people land up in Facebook or Instagram. You look into those leads, you click on those leads, but they have the conversation engagement happening on WhatsApp, because on WhatsApp you can do a lot more stuff. So that's a kind of another omni-channel engagement is what something that's really picking up, and I would like to work with you to see how we can enable those for Planet42.
No, it's a good point what you mentioned earlier, to not have staff answer the mundane things. And we try to hire smart people, and we want our staff to use their brains. So if the mundane questions can be taken care of the bots, then staff will be stimulated and more engaged to come to work, knowing that they're going to be challenged throughout the day, not with impossible stuff, but where they will have to engage their minds. I mean, there's nothing worse, or there's nothing that makes a day longer than if you're sitting doing monotonous things, and then you're not stimulated at work, and then you're not excited, and your productivity will suffer. So we try and hire smart staff, want them to use their brains, so we want to have things automated as much as possible.
Absolutely. And automating itself is a fun. Itself requires a little bit of thought and brain, so it is even more stimulating for the workers or the employees in this case. I just want to, because a lot of viewers that we have are potential customers, right? And they always are wanting to know what's been your learnings. When you're working with Yellow Message, there should have been certain learnings that you can share.
Sure. So when we first opened up the Yellow Messenger platform, it's a little bit overwhelming because you don't know what to click next. I mean, if you look at like an Instagram or a Facebook, the UX is just so sleek that you know what to do next, and it's pretty obvious. So with Yellow Messenger, there's a number of clicks to execute a command. So off the back of that, we actually had to dedicate one person to understanding the layout and where to go inside of the platform. So they became like almost the subject matter expert for the platform. And then once that person got up to speed, we started onboarding more and more of our support team to feel comfortable with the platform. So that was the first part, like just feeling comfortable with how the platform works. And then there were various operational requirements, like what happens if an agent goes on leave and they need to mark themselves available or unavailable, or there needs to be an admin role where tickets can get lumped in, and then who can see ticket closures, who monitors turnaround times. So there was a lot of operational queries also that needed to be ironed out. And only once those first two were addressed could we move on to the campaigning side of things. And then with the procedures intact and the campaigning now kicking off again, because we were a startup or a high growth company, then next question was, okay, how can we most effectively deploy these campaigns? And then that's where we looked to Yellow Messenger to be flexible and nimble with us in meeting our requirements. That's not to say that we always have the best solutions. So we would propose something to Yellow Messenger, and Yellow Messenger would say, well, in our other clients, it's actually done like this or like that. So we'll look at it and we'll say, okay, well, we hadn't thought of that. That's a good point. So we want to adopt what's widely practiced in industry. But then if that doesn't meet our requirements, we would ask for some custom developments. So I mean, the volume of custom developments haven't been excessively large, but where a custom development was required, that need was fulfilled pretty quickly. I mean, the team really jumped onto it and attacked the requirements pretty well. So we're quite impressed with the turnaround times. Yeah, but I mean, if I'd one gripe, platform, just the UX is a little bit not so great.
No, we heard that. In fact, next month we'll be launching a new UX. In fact, the way we are thinking about it is exactly to make it like a completely self-serve. That's one aspect of thing we're thinking at. Second aspect is we're thinking from a perspective of business user, right? Not everybody is technical. So business user can come in and then, as you told, or anybody, right, who wants to use WhatsApp or somebody wants to use Facebook or Instagram, that kind of seamless experience we're thinking about. So in fact, we'll be very happy to show a preview to you and take your feedback on that.
No, I'd love to. Love to.
But great feedback. Thanks for that. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you, and you.